ちゃん、レイチェルよろしくお願いします。
はい、どうも。
We are now live streaming. Hey, Haley.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh, I finally got it to work. Okay. Hi.
We're now live on YouTube as well.
Are your parents going to be joining us again? They're so cute.
I think I'm guessing once is they're full up, and it's a little late here. So. But they did. They really enjoyed it and had great feedback. So
I'm glad. Yeah, I managed to wrench my boyfriend's parents into this, I think. So we'll see. Let me post that YouTube.
More the merrier.
Can somebody throw the link for the YouTube stream in the chat real quick so I can tweet it?
Yes, good idea.
Welcome, everyone. We'll get started in just a few moments.
David, I'm not sure what the slide is that you're referring
I'll show you right now, and just
Not a lot of participants on this.
You're talking about where my name is?
あ、ゆきさんだ。田中俊之さん。わーい。
Hi, for her to say.
元気ですか？
はい、元気です。あ、ジョインしてくれてありがとうございます。
As you say, they've started some kind of global something or other, and I liked what they had to say, but the people who signed it and the organizations were.
Welcome, everyone. We've now muted the line. We'll get started in just a few moments. We're so glad that folks are joining us. We'll wait another moment or two for additional folks to join us, and then we'll get started. But please continue to exchange dialogue in the chat box, to exchange dialogue with everyone, or also can send messages to individual participants as well. So we'll get started in just a few moments. Thank you.
Hello, can people hear me? I'm not quite sure if I'm in or not. I guess not. Just a sec.
No, you're definitely in.
Oh, okay. So you can hear me. Good. Thank you.
マサさん聞こえてますよ。うん、
Yeah, 聞こえてます。
Yes, yes. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to everyone who has just joined. We're so happy to have you here. We'll get started in just a few moments. In the meantime, feel free to write any greetings or ideas, questions in the chat box.
Welcome again to everyone. We'll start in just a few moments. We're very thankful for you to be sharing this space with us tonight and morning in some respective places. It would be great. I see that a few folks have started sharing in the chat box where you're from. So if people are willing to share, we'd love to know what part of the world you're dialing in from tonight or today. That would be awesome. So thank you. I believe someone just mentioned they're coming in from Spokane, Washington. So welcome. So if others would like to share where they're from, that would be great. Very, very much appreciated.
Sinead, just give me a 5-second warning before you're gonna open things up so I can press record.
Will do. Thank you all for sharing. And it's right about 9:03 or 21:03. We can go ahead and get started, Davey. We're going to start recording.
All set.
Okay, excellent. Well, again, thank you everyone and welcome to our second launch event for today. My name is Shanae Simon from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm one of the members of the coalition and very thankful to be in this space with you all today. I would like to start off with just a few norms, Zoom norms as we launch into the event, that we will be recording. So for privacy, if you do not want to be captured in the recording with visual imaging, please feel free to turn off your cameras. We will ask you to continue to pose any questions or thoughts in the chat box as all lines are muted. And so we will be referring to the chat box throughout the conversation tonight or today. Also, there was a link put in the chat box directly linking you to the manifesto. If you're interested in referring to the manifesto in full, please feel free to review it while we're going through it. We'll be speaking to it as well today. Before we get started, we would like to just take a brief moment of silence in honor and memory of those that have been impacted and lost lives to COVID-19. So we'll just take a few moments of silence before we officially start. Thank you. This is a very exciting time, also sombering time, but again, thank you all for joining us on this live launch event. This has been a journey and we're thankful that you are now joining this journey with us. And at this point in time, I would like to turn over to Harry, a member of the coalition who will lead us in a welcome.
Or good day, depending on where you are. My name is Harry Kayson, and as a member of the COVID-19 Global Solidarity Coalition, I want to welcome you to this, our second of 2 official launches of our COVID-19 Global Solidarity Manifesto. Thank you for joining us today, and we are pleased to share this event with you, while also recognizing the solemn occasion this event represents, with so many more additional deaths due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We particularly also want to thank the nearly 3,000 of you who have already signed our manifesto. We thank you for that. Now, we have 3 main purposes for this event today. We want to share the manifesto with you in detail, and we want to introduce you to many of the individuals behind the manifesto, and we want to engage with the global community to learn from you and hear your thoughts about the manifesto, as well as initiate ways for you to connect with us so that we can make this manifesto and many many other similar manifestos that are out there, a reality. In this way, we can all hear from various parts of our international community. So let us not lose sight of how this continuing national and international competition for dominance can easily end up eliminating, through nuclear war, global warming, the vast majority of us, if not all. We need to move, and we need to move now, as it is already very late. Now, presentations will be spoken in several languages today. However, we must apologize that the event will be primarily in English. There are many challenges to organizing a global movement or coalition, and language is a difficult one. We will be working to make our events and overall work efforts more inclusive in terms of languages and translations going forward. We appreciate your understanding, especially if English is not your first language. So again, thank you for joining us today. And I would now like to introduce Chie Miyagi, also known as Sunshine, who will sing a traditional Okinawa folk song entitled Flowers of the Garden Balsam. However, following Chie, Miss Miyagi, following will be Sarah Block. She will say a word or two about who we are as a group, followed by Irini Disvardi, who will speak about the manifesto in some detail with you. So I turn it over to Chie Miyagi. She's muted at the moment.
You can unmute yourself. Yeah. We'll try one more time, Sunshine.
She's still muted.
There we go.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Hi, Dai. 틴삭은 하나. 틴삭은 하나야. 짐이 사치니 의시구 두야 집은 있으니 의안의 유시구 두야 집은 있으니 75 years ago, my grandparents got killed in the massacre of Tokashiki Island during the Battle of Okinawa. My father and mother were high school students. They were forced to become student corps. Through the steel of typhoon, my mom and dad could survive. My mother always said to me, military didn't protect citizens. My mother always making friends with everybody with a big smile. Her life was Ichariba-chode. Once we meet by chance, we are sisters and brothers. My mother taught me, Nuchidu takara. Life is the most precious treasure in the world. 私の祖父母は 沖縄戦で渡嘉敷島の集団死の中で亡くなった私の父と母は高校生だった。学徒隊になり、軍隊と共に行動した。鉄の暴風の中をくぐり抜け、私の母と父は生き延びた。私の最愛の母はいつも言っていた。軍隊はね、住民守らなかったよ。私の母はいつでもどこでも誰とでも仲良くした笑顔で、私の母が教えてくれたこと、ぬちど宝、命こそ宝。ティダヌ光やいちちてとて苦しけぬぬちやむるぬちどたから苦しけぬぬちやむるぬちどたから Let's walk hand in hand to make the world full of laughter of children. 마준 지바라나 야타이. 이페 니에테 비탄. ありがとうございました。Thank you. 謝謝。タンディガタンディ。
Thank you, Sunshine. Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing your history and that beautiful song. We will now have Sarah Block, also a coalition member, that will share more information about the coalition members.
Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here with you all today. We as a coalition, as David mentioned, or sorry, as Harry mentioned earlier, we formed just over the last few months, and many of us have never even met in person. We have interacted and built relationships and shared ideas over Zoom, as we're doing right now. And it's been a real honor for me to work together with each and every member of the coalition. We represent 20 different countries around the world. There's about 60 members of the coalition. We are from diverse backgrounds. We're activists and artists, teachers, journalists, lawyers, students. So many different backgrounds have come together to learn from each other, to share our hopes, our fears, our dreams, and figure out how we can build a new, better world in this moment. So before I turn it over to hear from some of the other coalition members about why they are part of the coalition and why they signed the manifesto, I also want to share some of these thoughts in Spanish. So, hola, buenos días, buenas noches a todos. Mi nombre es Jara. Soy un miembro de la coalición. Coalición ha formado en esos meses, conociéndonos en los medios de Zoom, y estamos compartiendo nuestros sueños, nuestros miedos, nuestras metas, a formar un mundo mejor para todos. Somos como 60 personas representando 20 países, y somos diversas de profesión. Somos artistas, activistas, periodistas, somos maestros, estudiantes y estamos todos agradecidos a tener todos aquí en este evento para construir juntos un mundo mejor para todos. Gracias. And with that, I will now hear testimonials from some of our coalition members in English, Japanese, and Spanish. So let's first hear from Rachel.
I'm going to start from Japanese, then in English. こんにちは。私はレイチェル・クラークと申します。日本生まれの日本育ちで、人生の半分以上を米国市民としてこの国に住みながら、誇りと苛立ちと不安との葛藤の中で、なんとか前向きに生きてきたつもりです。そしてついに COVID-19 グローバル連帯マニフェストの立ち上げのこの瞬間を皆さんとご一緒にお祝いできて大変嬉しく光栄に存じます。これは誰に向けて書かれたマニフェストですかと何人かの皆さんに聞かれました。これは私と皆さんを含む私たちに向けて書かれたものです。この COVID-19 騒ぎで明らかになったのは、社会の仕組みが実際には機能していなかったり、その社会と私たちが信じていた価値観とが全くリンクしていなかった。むしろ逆効果だったということですね。このマニフェストは小さな一歩ですが、これまでとは違う世界へ寄り添い合って、より良い社会へ進む確実な一歩です。私たちには誰が私たちを分断しようとしているのか見分ける目があります。そしてまたお互いに握り合い、つなぐ手を持っています。現実にもバーチャルにもこうしてつながることができます。大きな海や国境や政治体制などで隔てられていても、それでも私たちは今、この瞬間もこうしてつながっています。これまでと同じやり方ではめちゃめちゃになってしまうって分かってるからですよね。未来の世代のためにより安全でより良い環境と社会をこの世界を去る前に残したいですね。それが私たちの責任です。この1ヶ月半のグローバル会議で良いエネルギーと自信をいただきました。誰でもウェルカムで思いやりと責任感のある新しい世界が手の届くところにあるという実感を得ました。このマニフェストに署名したことでもう私たちは一歩踏み出したのですから、もう片方の足も前に出して目標に向かって前進していきましょう。皆さんとだったらできると信じています。ありがとうございます。Hello, everyone. I am Rachel Clark. I was born and grew up in Japan. More than half of my life, I've been in this country with mixed feelings of pride, frustration, and anxiety. Nevertheless, I've been trying to live positively. So, I'm so happy and honored to celebrate this moment with you, launching the COVID-19 Global Solidarity Manifesto. And I would like to congratulate you for joining us. Some people have asked me to whom this manifesto was written. Well, it was written to me and to us, including you. COVID-19 revealed that the mechanisms of our society were not working, nor were they connected to the values that we believed in. They have been rather counterproductive. This manifesto is a baby step, but certainly a step forward to a different world, to a better society where we care inclusively. We have eyes to recognize who wants to divide us. We have hands to hold and connect with each other, both in reality and the virtual world, as we are at this moment. Even if we are separated by great oceans, national borders, or political systems, we all know for sure that our same old way takes us to total disaster. And we all want to leave a safer environment and a better society for future generations before we leave this world. That's our responsibility. This past month and a half, through our global meetings, I gained confidence that a new, inclusive, caring, and responsible world is within our reach. By co-signing this manifesto, we have already taken the first step. So let's bring the other foot forward and let's start marching toward our goal. I know we can do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
And we'll now hear from Francesca.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being with us tonight. It means a lot to us. And first, I'm going to share with you why I sang the manifesto in Spanish and then in English. Hola, mi nombre es Francesca. Soy peruana de una región al sur del país que se llama Ica, donde están las líneas de Nazca. Y los dos puntos de este manifiesto que evocan en mí las imágenes más bonitas son el número 2, que demanda un cese al fuego inmediato, un cese a las guerras crueles e innecesarias. Nosotros tenemos el don de la palabra, el don de la diplomacia, y debemos usarlo. El otro punto está en el número 3, perdón, y propone avanzar hacia una economía cooperativa centrada en los cuidados. Superar esa economía capitalista de la acumulación, esa economía capitalista de las desigualdades, y empezar a reorganizar nuestras prioridades, las necesidades humanas primero. Poner en el punto más alto de esa pirámide de prioridades lo que llamamos trabajo doméstico, empezar a crear una soberanía alimentaria. Y como dice el texto, proclamamos este manifiesto hoy para ofrecer la visión del mundo que estamos construyendo, del mundo que exigimos y del mundo que lograremos. Welcome again. My name is Francesca and I'm from Peru, from a southern region called Ica, where the Nazca lines are. The 2 points of this manifesto that created me the most beautiful images are the demand for an immediate global ceasefire, the end of wars, which are cruel and unnecessary. We have the gifts of language and diplomacy, and we should use them. The other point is number 3, move toward cooperatively based economies of care, overcome the capitalist economy of inequalities and accumulation of wealth in few hands, and start reorganizing our priorities. We should put human needs first, domestic work first, building food sovereignty so nobody should suffer again from hunger. As the text says, we declare this manifesto today to offer a vision of the world we are building, the world we are demanding, and the world we will achieve. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Francesca. I should mention that Francesca single-handedly translated the manifesto into about 4 or 5 different languages. So we're so grateful for all of your work. We'll now hear from Satoko.
はい。のりまつさとこです。今日はこの地の先住民、スコーミッシュ、ムスキウム、スレーバトスネーションの土地の上で話しさせていただきます。今年は第二次世界大戦終結75周年です。宮城サンシャイン千恵さんが話してくれたように、1945年の3月末から6月末にかけて、アジア太平洋戦争で最も残酷な戦闘と言われた沖縄戦が起こりました。ちょうど今、この時期が沖縄戦の75周年です。私は一人の日本人として、日本の帝国主義と植民地主義がもたらした残酷な加害の一つとしての沖縄戦の歴史に思いを馳せています。そして75年経った今も、沖縄は米国と日本の軍事支配下に置かれたままです。この現状を変えるべき活動をしてきました。その中でこのグループを立ち上げたデイビッド・バインさんに会うことができました。私はこのマニフェストに団体賛同したカナダ9条の会のメンバーです。日本の侵略戦争と植民地支配は、沖縄だけではなく、朝鮮半島、中国、東南アジア、アジア、太平洋全域において、何千万の人たちの命を奪い、生き残っても死ぬまで続くトラウマや、次世代にまで残る心の傷を残しました。憲法9条は、この戦争に対する反省に基づき、戦争と戦争の手段を放棄しています。私の活動は、搾取と不平等という暴力に満ちた世界のシステムに自分自身が加担しているという気づきから出発しています。このマニフェストでは世界人口のたった 1% が世の中の大半の富を手にしていると言っていますが、この 1% とは誰のことでしょう。ある報告書によると、年収が300万円ぐらいあれば、もしくは純資産額が7000万円ぐらいあれば、この 1% に属するということです。私自身にも当てはまるのではないかと思います。だからこのマニフェストは何よりも私は自分自身に突きつけなければいけないものだと思います。皆さんとの連帯を感謝します。次、英語でいきます。My name is Satoko Oka Norimatsu, and I'm speaking on the traditional territories of Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. This year marks the 75th anniversary of the end of the World War II. As our Okinawan friend, Sunshine Chie Miyagi illustrated, the Battle of Okinawa, one of the bloodiest battles of the Pacific theater of the war, from the end of March to the end of June of 1945, killed over 200,000 people, including over 100,000 Okinawans, about 1 in 3 or 4 residents of the beautiful island nation. As a person of Japanese ancestry, I take this history to my heart as one of the many brutal consequences of Japan's imperialism and colonialism. 75 years after the war, Okinawa is still under the military occupation of the United States and Japan. I've been a part of the effort to change that, to free Okinawa from military bases. And through that work, I got to know David Vine, who started our solidarity group. I represent Article 9 Canada, one of the organizational endorsers of our manifesto. Our mission is to uphold and realize the spirit of the Article 9, part of Japan's post-war constitution that pledges renunciation of war and war potential, based on the hard lesson that the country learned after its aggressive wars and colonization killed and afflicted tens of millions of people in Korea, China, across the Southeast Asia, the entire Asia-Pacific region. My work for peace and justice stands on this clear consciousness of being part of the violent system of exploitation and inequality. And I take this manifesto as a challenge to myself, my own communities, and my own countries, Canada and Japan. In the manifesto, we refer to the fact that the 1% of the world population possess more than the double of the 88%. So who are the 1%? A study shows an annual income of $32,000 US, or a net worth of about $750,000, places you among the top 1%. I realize that I am part of the 1%, part of the very system that we're condemning in this manifesto. I want to keep this awareness close to my heart when I participate in the embodiment of our visions. As a well-known quote says, to be the change I want to see in this world. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Satoko. And thank you everyone for your really beautiful, powerful, and such honest and genuine remarks. I think it really speaks powerfully and truthfully to each of our own personal experiences, as well as our collective efforts to join together. Before I hand it over back to Shanae, I would invite everyone to write in the chat box why they signed the manifesto, why you signed the manifesto, if you already have, and if you have not but you're interested in it, you can write why you might sign it or why you came today. So we really would love to hear from many different voices what is inspiring you. And with that, I'll turn it back to Shanae.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone. I wanted to also extend the warm invitation to everyone. By being on this call tonight, you are now a member of the coalition. So thank you again for being a part of this movement. I have another coalition member here as well. But thank you for being a part of this, the future coalition builders. But thank you for being a part of this, and that you are now a member. And so we're just, again, honored to share this space with you. I now would like to invite and introduce Irini, who will share more details about the manifesto. And we've also included a link again in the chat box that will send you directly to the manifesto. Thank you, Irini.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us and joining us today and joining the coalition. My name is Irini. I'm originally from Greece, but I've been in the US for many years now. I'm in Connecticut. Καλησπέρα στους φίλους που ίσως να είναι στην Ελλάδα ή να μιλούν ελληνικά. So we created our manifesto a little over a month ago. As you've already heard, initially we came together to address our individual worries about insecurity and isolation, but very quickly our conversation developed into one about all the big questions around safety, health, and community that the pandemic made so clear and so urgent, and not just for each one of us, but for everyone across the world. So without reading the full manifesto, which you can see on the screen, I will highlight some of our demands and once again, our collective vision. And just as Rachel, Francesca, and Satoko powerfully put, that is a vision of cooperation that aims at health, safety, equality, and peace for all human beings, not just for the moment right now, but emphatically long-term. So with our manifesto, we ask for protection of health workers and universal healthcare for all, for major steps to be taken toward peace and security across the globe. And these must include the lifting of all sanctions, a ceasefire in all conflicts, closure of military bases, cessation of military exercises, and abolition of nuclear weapons. We also ask for full protection of all, and especially of the most vulnerable populations across the world, irrespective of gender and sexual orientation, ethnic background, class, citizenship status, age, and ability. We demand that wealthy nations live up to their responsibility to provide medical aid and debt relief to countries without strong public health systems, that governments prioritize the needs not of corporations and the powerful elites across the world, but of people, and that they do not exploit the pandemic to encroach on our privacy and our fundamental human rights to assembly, free expression, self-determination, and the vote. So at the center of all of our demands is the replacement of the current capitalist and exploitative economies with economies that aim at the protection of our natural resources, our environment, and the protection of human life, by building on genuine cooperation and care. So in other words, we demand conditions not for mere survival, but for fulfilling lives for everyone. So if you share our demands, once again, we invite you to sign our manifesto if you haven't done so already, to join with your comments and everything you want to raise in the chat. But also, as we move forward in the conversation tonight, to help us envision and take our next steps. So thank you again, and I will turn it over to Shanae.
Thank you, Irini. Thank you so much for giving us more detail and insight to the manifesto. So please continue to share those comments of why you signed. Also to add if there are certain demands that really resonate with you, that you feel that are actionable and needing immediate attention from movements like the this movement and manifesto coalition. My apologies. Next, I'd like to introduce Mauricio, who is also a coalition member, who will share and highlight some of our prospective coalition partners and current coalition partners.
Good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. Hello. Hola, здравствуйте. My name is Mauricio Alexander Cherney. I'm from La Ciudad de Mexico, Washington, D.C., and for the last 20 years, New York City. I'm a performing artist and activist, as well as a graduate student at the School of International Service at American University in the International Peace and Conflict Resolution Program, and a founding member of this coalition, the COVID-19 Global Solidarity Coalition. The coalition is a collective working group. We share a number of goals with other coalitions and movements, and we're looking forward to continue building with you and our organizational signatories. Groups have signed the manifesto, which you can find at covidglobalsolidarity.org. These current organizational signatories are, as we heard before, Article 9 Canada, Code Pink, Council on Hemispheric Affairs, the Global Network Against Weapons and Nuclear Power in Space, the International Peace Research Association, the Manhattan Project for a Nuclear-Free World, the Unitarian Universalists for a Just Economic Community, and Veterans for Peace. And we thank you all for joining our manifesto. Other organizations and collectives who have been in contact with us based on recommendations and referrals are the members of the Cross-Border Feminist Manifesto, Mobilizing Women for Peace in Korea, the Weltfemur, Women of Color Advancing Peace and Security, Common Action Forum, and Demand Progress, among others. The numbers keep growing, and that's wonderful. The coalitions and partnerships we're beginning to build to address these challenges we all currently face globally are very valued and important to us. Coalitions are alliances or partnering of groups in order to achieve a common purpose or to engage in joint activity. And coalition building in itself is the process by which parties, we individuals, organizations, or nations come together to form a larger community. We come together because of our similar values, our interests, our goals, and to combine our resources while building more power and momentum. So currently we're actively identifying partners with a similar vision. We've had already great input from earlier this morning from our session. We would love your input tonight or today, any connections and help with building new partnerships. We invite you to make these suggestions now for coalition building via our chat box, or you can also email us at covid19globalsolidarity@gmail.com. And we'll do our best to reach out to those individuals and organizations as soon as possible. Thank you for being here tonight. I bring you back to Shanae for a Q&A and discussion.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. Please continue the dialogue in the chat box. At this point, we would like to open up the floor for questions. I believe that we please use the feature of raising your hand or directly to place a question in the chat box. I believe that there was one individual, a couple of individuals who are in queue to share remarks, and I believe the first is a guest of Peter's, Dan Ellsberg. Are you ready to share comments in this section, Dan?
Certainly. No, I didn't expect, hi. I didn't expect to be called. It's wonderful to see Sadako again. I haven't seen you for so long, Sadako. As you've seen as a note, I've been working on Okinawa. You know, the day started with the news that there have been discussions in the White House in the last month, May 15th, of reopening nuclear testing. And they've been put on the shelf for a while, but that's an extremely ominous move. It means that conceivably during COVID or during this election season, I think the president might move ahead while he's still in office, and not an assurance that he will remain so, to start testing as part of the program of demolishing every aspect of arms control that has existed for the last half century. Getting out of the Open Skies Agreement now, just the other day, obviously pointing toward getting out of the New START agreement with its verification procedures and everything else. His representative in the White House for arms control, supposedly, is talking, in effect, echoing his earlier comments at the beginning of his term. Arms race, bring it on. We'll win it. We're so rich. We'll win it. Now, one thing that COVID does reveal to us now is that when needed by both, especially the rich, and the poor and the corporations, trillions of dollars can suddenly come out of nowhere. So the possibility of achieving, in a material sense, many of the things that are talked about in this coalition manifesto, it's totally absurd to say that there's no possibility of dealing with that in a budgetary sense. Trillions and trillions are available. We can learn from that. Long ago, I'll just say, Russell and Einstein in the Russell Manifesto, which actually came out of the testing of the first H-bomb, one of the first tests of the Bravo test of the H-bomb, which it contaminated the Lucky Dragon and led to the Japanese anti-nuclear policy for the first time. That led to the Russell-Einstein Manifesto, which called on people to give up war, as the manifesto calls for. Seemed utopian at that time, and we haven't come near it. But I've always remembered the phrase to scientists and to leaders of the world and everything: remember your humanity and forget the rest. And I always had, he said, otherwise, we'd go down. This remarkable species, they said, may end. That always bothered me in a way, because actually humanity has meant, especially for the last 10,000 years of civilization, has meant war. That is part of humanity as it exists, when we say actually existing humanity and actually existing civilization, actually not only capitalism, but the imperialism that goes back. But I think what they had in mind is something that is implied in this manifesto, and which the COVID-19 is really communicating to the world. The phrase is our common humanity. The fact that we all, good and bad, are one species, one family. And in other words, that's not a matter of borders, not a matter of nationality or ethnicity, or different breeds and various things. If you remember, the common humanity, which we now know is threatened by humans in a way that humans have never faced before. We would have said 2 months ago, in two ways in particular: the climate challenge in the anthropogenic phase here, which threatens civilization, certainly; the nuclear challenge of the dangers that we all face. Radioactivity recognizes no borders, and more important, it seems, smoke, elevated into the atmosphere by the firestorms, as on Tokyo or Hiroshima. Elevated into the stratosphere, the smoke goes around the globe, as the radioactivity actually doesn't so much. It does to a certain extent, but winds from the equator have always kept most fallout in the hemisphere where the targets are hit. So the southern hemisphere actually would experience some radioactivity, but unlike On the Beach, the movie On the Beach, radioactivity wouldn't kill people in the southern hemisphere. Smoke in the stratosphere does not recognize those equatorial winds. It doesn't rain out, and it's not affected by those winds. And it goes around the globe, and it kills most vegetation on Earth and all large primates. vertebrates, I should say, except perhaps ours. People in New Zealand, there may be some, maybe 1%. It may be the 1% who go down there, as Peter Thiel is doing in New Zealand and so forth, and protect themselves. But 98 or 99% of the people go from the weapons we have right now and have had basically since 1950, 70 years ago. The possibility for nuclear winter was not recognized, but it was there in our war plans. So when we talk about taking half, and it should be more than half of the military budgets, far more than half of the American budget and the Russian budgets, and half of the others, and devoting them to other sources, I would point particularly to stopping the so-called modernization of the doomsday machines, which have existed for 70 years, and stop not just the modernization, eliminating those doomsday capabilities, which are being modernized in all of the 9 nuclear states. It's not just a matter of money. And where I got onto this, where I'm starting is, COVID has made us realize, actually, that humans create global, species-wide, and far more interspecies-wide threats of near extinction, or actually extinction for nearly everyone but us. We're so adaptable, maybe 1% of us will survive, but not any of the other animals. They can't move 1,000 miles. They don't have shelters and fires, and they go. So it's not just one humanity we have to realize, it's the system of life, this precious globe, this earth, this ecology. And I think this COVID has brought us together on this screen in a way I've never seen before. Japan, we've been hearing, Okinawan, people all over the world. And this morning, I was in a Abolition 2000 meeting, Zoom meeting, again, global, like all over the world. So it's brought us together despite the social distancing. And I thank you all so much for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Dan. We appreciate your sentiments and your thoughtful response. Thank you so very much for sharing that. That's a lot for us to continue to process. We wanted to make sure that some questions or comments that are coming in the chat box in regards to kind of next steps and staying connected. And so I want to go ahead and highlight that first, and then we can open it, continue the dialogue going. But please, yes, next steps are in works, right? That the purpose of having these 2 live events is to get additional voices, perspectives included, again, for this is to be an inclusive movement, that we all own this. And I think Rachel said that so beautifully in her testimonial today. But yes, please take note of the website, as well as our Facebook page, as well as emailing us directly. We now have a feature also on our website where you're able to subscribe for updates and newsletters, et cetera, as well as Twitter. We have an active Twitter account. And so these are just avenues by way of sending communication to us, as well as us sending communication to you on kind of our next steps. So that we had some great suggestions come out of the morning or the earlier session that we had in regards to maybe meeting collectively once a month, or possibly having smaller breakouts based upon regions and countries, or even based on demands. And so we would love to continue that dialogue here in this space in terms of what would next steps look like. So I'd like to open up the floor now for that question to pose to everyone tonight is, what would you like to see next steps be for this coalition? Please use the chat box or use the raise your hand feature.
Why don't I jump in to just share some of the comments we've been receiving in the chat box. I fear that my internet connection suddenly got unstable, so I'm going to move. But we have indeed, as Shanae said, received a number of really helpful comments and feedback. A couple that we've received already as people are thinking about their questions, their comments they'd like to share. I signed the manifesto because it's global and all the complex problems we have are global: war, pandemics, healthcare, nutrition, and farming. Thank you for this opportunity. Another said, request from Michael Eichner. Please discuss how you see this manifesto relates to the LEAP manifesto, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, and People's Bailout. And a similar question came about, have any labor organizations signed on to the manifesto? As Mauricio referred to earlier, we are continuing to look for organizations to partner with, and we encourage you to share the names of organizations that you know of and that you have connections with, and even better, to make contact with them yourself and then bring them into the coalition. I don't think we have a labor organization signed on so far, but let me turn things over to other people who might have questions now that I've shared a few of the thoughts from the chat box.
I think John Clark, you had raised your hand, John.
John, Rachel, are you talking about me?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Yes, John, Rachel.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
All right.
My apologies.
It goes without saying that what we're attempting to do is incredibly valuable. I always break things down. I don't know whether it's because I grew up in Detroit, the auto industry, everything was nuts and bolts, and everything had to be broken into, had to be reduced to some sort of actionable item that I'm going to say. All of the aspirations that we've expressed in the manifesto, in my opinion, are self-evident, but they're not self-evident to 99% of people in the world. Not self-evident even to the people in my own community. I live in Japan in a farming community. They're worried about planting soybeans and rice. They are not connected to all that. They would certainly agree with all these ideas, or many of them. They're not connected in a tangible way, in a way that they see it impacting their current and lives and media future. So here's my suggestion. I'm not going to carry on about this forever. Here's my suggestion. I think that we need to form groups, probably geographically organized would be good. I see a number of people that live here in Japan, so at least we have the proximity of living in the same country, share some of the same environmental identification. Working groups to take these 9 principles and connect them to the reality that everyday people live. Because if this whole effort is going to live or die on whether we are able to amass a critical mass of people, a sufficient number of people to get behind this, and then insist on the changes being made through their own communities, up through the hierarchy that does exist. We're not going to replace the hierarchy. We're not going to replace the corporations right now. We have to move from underneath them and organize in terms of communities and people. If we get 100, 200, 500 million people behind this, we have some chance of it succeeding. But what do you do with 500 million people? They have to be working what we're proposing here in terms that people in their own communities, their own families understand, and they can connect with and become passionate about. And so I think that we should form working groups, and we should try to reduce within our own, for example, the struggle in Okinawa is very, I'm very familiar with that, by the way. I'm in Okinawa and I've written about it. So connecting some of the principles that we've laid out there to that particular struggle and engaging even more people is quite a good, healthy movement going on there. But then in my own community, we don't actually have any COVID here, but we are impacted by what's going on. And we're impacted by the current prime minister, who's about 2 millimeters right of a fascist, and who wants to cancel Article 9 of our Constitution and is proposing more defense, and so forth. So all those things impact people in Japan. But the problem is connecting these 9 very, very noble and wonderful principles to things that people can embrace in their own lives and translate into action, whether it's action in their own communities. It's who they vote for. It's, this is what we need to figure out, because if we can't make this a reality to people on the ground, in the communities, in the homes, then it's not going to happen. We're all going to be meeting here, representing a very, very noble and necessary effort, but where is it going to go? So that's my suggestion. I don't know.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you so much for those very concrete and helpful ideas.
Okay. So I don't know how we go about organizing that.
Well, that's part of what I think we want to talk about tonight. We got another question about how to describe this coalition to others, and someone who had received that question from people they had invited to the event. We do have a beautiful description of who we are. And I think Mauricio and Sarah spoke to who we are earlier. But I think part of the reason we're having these launch events is to decide together and to invite other members into the coalition to decide together who we are and where we're going. And that's why we really do want the focus of this discussion period to be focused on concrete next steps that we can take to make the demands of the manifesto a reality. Let's see. It looks like Peter wanted to jump in. One second, Pete. Yeah, there we go. We can hear you.
Good. I think our effort is largely an educational one. Maybe that's because I'm an academic and I see the world that way. But I think what we're trying to do and what we can do is really articulate principles by which everyone can approach, all over the world, in an international sense, approach this crisis that we're all facing. We're realizing more than ever how interconnected we are. Dan Ellsberg, those of you who don't know Dan, maybe the younger people don't know Dan as well as some of us do, but Dan is the world's leading whistleblower. Dan is the conscience of Edward Snowden and Julian Assange and everybody else who's spoken out against government repression. Dan didn't mention, this morning I embarrassed David by bringing up his book, Base Nation, wonderful book about the international bases. But Dan wrote an incredible book called The Doomsday Machine, warning about the dangers of the insanity of the nuclear arms race and our nuclear policy. And what differentiates us from other groups is that we're so international in our perspective, that we began deliberately as an international coalition, that our members are drawn from countries all over the world with very different governments and politics and concerns. Dan was focusing on the existential crises that confront us. And he mentioned the threat of nuclear winter. The reality of what we know now, the latest scientific studies show that even a limited nuclear war between India and Pakistan, in which 100 nuclear weapons were used, 100 Hiroshima-sized nuclear weapons were used, would send 5 million tons of smoke and soot and debris into the atmosphere, block the sun's rays, drop the temperatures on the surface of the earth below freezing, destroy agriculture. That limited nuclear war could lead to 2 billion deaths. That's 100 Hiroshima-sized nuclear weapons. Well, we've got 14,000 nuclear weapons, and they're not Hiroshima-sized. They're between 7 and 80 times as powerful as the Hiroshima bombs. So so when I think about our global, what we represent as a global movement, the man who most warned about nuclear winter in the 1980s was the scientist, the astronomer Carl Sagan. And Jimmy Carter asked Carl Sagan for a message that he could use in his farewell address. And Sagan's words, I think, are still so poignant for us. He said, nuclear weapons are an expression of one side of our humanity, but there's another side. The same rocket technology that delivers nuclear warheads has also taken us peacefully into space. From that perspective, we see our Earth as it really is, a small and fragile and beautiful blue globe, the only home we have. We see no barriers of race or religion or country. We see the essential unity of our species and our planet. And with that, and with faith and common sense, that bright vision will ultimately prevail. That's what Sagan wrote for Jimmy Carter back in 1981. When we think of ourselves now and we see how much worse things have gotten since 1981, and it blows our minds to think of where we are as a global species. And so if we have a message that we're conveying, I agree with what John was saying, but our job really, in my mind, is to try to unite all these different progressive movements and to try to get them to deal with and focus on the underlying causes, the deep structural causes. As we say in the opening sentence of our manifesto, the COVID-19 crisis has revealed the urgency of changing global structures of inequity and violence. And then we go on to lay out our demands and our proposals. But it's that unites us, that we've got such different fundamental ideas about where we as a species need to be going. And I think that if we can convey that, and the media has been very receptive to that message, where we've reached out, whether it's the Jerusalem Post today, or Progressive Magazine, or NPR, or all these other places, they're looking for something, some way to understand what we're going through in a global sense right now. And I think that's what we can do as a coalition, to keep expanding, keep spreading our message, keep conveying this sense of our broader common humanity.
David, as a co-host, can I jump in? Don't hear you, David.
Go for it, Harry. Go for it.
Sorry, actually, Harry, we do want to get other voices into the conversation who haven't had a chance to speak yet. And we did get Yuki Tanaka. Tanaka-san, please share your thoughts or questions.
Right, thank you very much. I agree with the manifesto. There's no problem at all. But I'm really concerned about what's going on in the so-called third world countries. We haven't talked about the situation in third world countries. For example, India, Indonesia, the Philippines, the vast number of people are suffering from starvation at the moment. Not only just the coronavirus problems, yet we are so-called in the advanced countries are busy enough just dealing with the internal problems, and we pay little attention to those the people in the third world country, and also Middle East, and especially the refugee camps. There's very vulnerable people, and somehow we can't cope with this problem because of we have our own problems. So how can we deal with this huge gap between the so-called advanced country and third world countries? Obviously, even in the so-called advanced countries, many social problems are now occurring. It's not just newly occurring, because those problems are poverty, racial discrimination, domestic violence. They are aggravated to extreme degrees because of pandemic. But when we look at the countries in the third world countries and the refugee camps, these problems are far more serious.
Yes.
What the Galtung said, that the social violence is now spread all over the world. It's not just a spreading all over the world, but it's really aggravating our problem and killing people, large number of people. So how can we deal with problems? Because we are, as I said, we so-called democratic countries are dealing with our own problems. You know, it's so paying attention to domestic problems, and we don't care about these vulnerable people in third world countries. So I think we have somehow confronted with the problem, and how, you know, we have to appeal to the people in the world how to deal with problems. The global, the structural violence. This is a problem, I think, immediate problem that we have now think about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanaka-san. I saw Patricio Zamorano, one of our coalition members, who's also put so much work into this effort. I did just want to share a few of the comments and questions we're getting from the chat box. And again, we encourage you to share your thoughts, ideas, suggestions, and questions in the chat box. We're going to be collecting all of the ideas we receive, both orally and in the chat box. But there's a good, vibrant discussion about the importance of electoral politics and changing politicians in office. There was a specific suggestion to ask members of Congress, parliamentarians, local politicians, other elected officials to sign on and to publicly commit to fight for the adoption of the manifesto's demands. But let me turn things over to Patricio.
Sure. Thank you so much, David. This is a beautiful effort. I just want to congratulate the committee, the coalition. It's just amazing. All the languages, all the races and backgrounds is amazing. I just want to contribute with a very concrete idea. My organization is part of the coalition as well as an organization, the Council on Hemispheric Affairs, COHA.org. We are very proud to be part of this effort officially, formally. And I think a very concrete idea is we offer our pages, our website, our big group of readers to the coalition. So basically, we can write, you guys can write pieces and we will publish them and we will distribute them among the whole spectrum of people who are part of the Council on Hemispheric Affairs. We have almost 40,000 readers every month of our website. We have 15,000 subscribers of email, 12,000 of followers in social media. So, and that could be extended to all of us, all these 60 people present right now. If you have any connection with an organization that is actually publishing articles, analysis, maybe think tanks, media outlets, blogs, magazines from universities, we gotta reach every single opportunity, every single space. We have to extend our voice. Once we publish in a website, we can distribute that through social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we can multiply this effort. So that would be my suggestion, and you can count on the Council on Hemispheric Affairs from now on, and we will amplify the voice of this wonderful group.
Thank you so much, Patricio. That's a fantastic commitment, and we would love, of course, other organizations to make similar commitments as Patricio was suggesting. Again, you can use the raise hand feature if you'd like to jump into the conversation, to ask a question, to make a comment.
So David, I would like that. I got a very quick and to the point, concrete recommendation to add to other, and I think that we need to sit down and think about what a non-competitive, non-capitalist society or economy would look like. How would it work? And also, what would a world, a real democratic world look like? We need to be able to present this to the public, because without this, people are just going to be saying, what do you do? How does this work? What's going to make this possible? So that's it. We really need to be concrete about what can be done as an alternative to what we have. So I'll leave it at that.
I wanted to ask Cindy. Cindy, if you wouldn't mind sharing, I know that you're coming from, it's both Cindy and I believe Cher are coming from an environmental and green space. Would you all mind kind of sharing some of your comments in the organizations that you're affiliated with, and kind of that demand that we do we touch on sustainability and environment on one of the demands. So I would love to hear more from you all and the work that you're connected with and the work that you're doing. Would you two mind sharing?
Cindy, you should be unmuted now.
Oh, well, I belong to so many environmental organizations we don't have all night. But my biggest concern right now is what we're doing to our environment and the destruction we're doing to our rainforests, poisoning in our waters, and everything, all like someone said before, we are all connected, everything is connected. And unless we start realizing what we're doing to our planet, we are actually doing to ourselves. So this has to be definitely a major movement, and has to involve environmental groups as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. And I think Abigail, you had your hand raised. Can we open up the floor for Abigail?
Hi. I think just kind of on that idea of kind of thinking about what the world can look like, I think another perspective that's really useful, at least for like kind of my thinking of this, is coming from kind of a harm reduction and disability justice perspective, and to make sure that the narratives that we're talking about are ones that are not leaving anyone behind. Angela Davis has this really great metaphor about like a triangle of kind of power. And when you try to make the world better for people on the top, you just make the triangle skinnier. But when you kind of push it up from the bottom, everyone kind of goes up. And thinking about the ways that like, there's been a lot of narratives about the ways that like, oh, this virus is attacking like only sick people, only older people. And like, even within the groups that are like kind of more that you would think of as like more progressive, you still hear those narratives. You still hear, oh, like the people are the virus, the planet's healing, and things like that, I think can be dangerous because they often leave the most vulnerable people out. And I think making sure we're framing this in a way that like it's possible to have a world without coronavirus, and a world without pollution, and a world where everyone has access to food, like, and a world where people are still able to like have their communities, and making sure that when we talk about that future, it's something that people want, because I think that that power of like hope is really strong, and knowing that like we're probably not gonna ever see that like perfect world, but like knowing that we're able to kind of move in that direction, and thinking about the ways that everyone is a part of that. Every person is a part of that story, and we have something to learn from every person, because everyone's kind of lived experience has value to add to what that future could be better for them. And I think just making sure that our narratives are both kind of there for everyone, and also able to kind of grow and respond and learn from everyone, and from people from different kind of expertise in different areas, I think is like a powerful way of kind of framing something like this manifesto.
Awesome, thank you. Thank you, Abigail. I believe Haley had her hand raised.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, so John made a very good point earlier about the question, the broad question of accessibility. And I had mentioned in the chat about how, well, accessibility, making this project exigent to like the common man. And I don't know if we can do that just by nature of our project, being all inclusive and being all the things that it is, I think we also have a duty, especially since we have so many academics and published authors in the room here, to provide resources ourselves, to provide like a reading list, potentially do book clubs, make whatever writing that you have open source, so that people who are on board with the goals but may not have the means or the tools like academically to like fully grasp what we're doing or like really care, why they should. So I encourage all of our authors and scholars here today to, if you can't pull your own resources, then pull from the resources that you have as educators, to potentially get something going. That's something we can sidebar about. And also with the question of accessibility, and I think Abigail probably, there's probably like, you made great points by the way, but there's I think probably only a handful of people in this room under 20. And the main like no offense, but the main criticism that I encountered when I started talking about this project and saying I was involved was I honestly was met with a lot of cynicism from people my age. That so like speaking as a historian, I know for a fact that it's hard to get people to think in terms of absolutes, or whether we talk about nuclear or environmental stuff and omnicide, and this is even as pressing as it is, people just can't register that as a certain point. So there's that facet of what we're discussing. And I can tell you definitely as a young person that if you're not doing something for me, then I am not going to care. And especially since young people are increasingly not getting jobs and they're not being a part of the workforce after college, I'm a college dropout, like increasingly not even completing college. And we're just feeling disconnected and jaded from our place in the world and our place in potentially this movement. So I think it's important to not coddle young people, but welcome them and accept them and offer them hope, but more importantly, offer them tangible solutions on a community level. Many of our goals are very overarching and broad, and that's why I love this project. We aim big, but we have to also make sure we're targeting goals at every level. I'm not going to digress anymore, but thanks.
Sinead, can I just jump in to share something from our discussions that Haley touched on?
Absolutely.
And that's that we did debate a lot about the level of specificity to get to in the manifesto. And because each of the points we could have gotten much more detailed, but we wanted to try to create a short and concise, simple manifesto with strong, powerful demands that we think are realistic and must be realistic. And we have to assume that they are, or else it's just a self-defeating prophecy. But yeah, I just wanted to mention that. And on a related note, we did get one comment in the chat box saying the coalition could host a separate online town hall webinar session on each point of the manifesto. So we definitely have thought about, and I think that's a terrific suggestion for going deeper with each point in the manifesto.
Yeah, absolutely, David. That wasn't necessarily a critique of the goals of the project itself, but just a question of how to expand it. Also, hi, Dan Ellsberg. I'm your biggest fan.
Please continue the dialogue in the chat box. We want to be mindful of the time, that our goal was a 90-minute and not to rush our conversation. But please continue to post questions in the chat box. We wanted to also provide a space for a special testimonial from one of our members, Patricio, as we mentioned before, of the diverse backgrounds of our coalition members, and he's a musician. And he had a special piece that he wanted to share, which will leave us feeling inspired. And I think as we move forward in this work, again, you are now a part of the coalition. Oh, and I see Mauricio. Did you want to say something?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There we go. Okay. So I just wanted to second Haley's points of view. And other organizations I've worked in, it's sometimes age does play a factor in who controls power and who has a say on things. And I do recognize now, having spent many years on both sides now of the aisle, from I guess 20s, 30s to 40s and on, I do look forward to making sure that we try to stay inclusive, as important as that is to people of different generations. And I think often actually intergenerational collectives are what usually are lacking in a lot of our political or social movements. It's no fault of anyone's, but it just seems to happen a lot. And I recognize that there are just these huge divisions. So I just want to second that. And I think we should be mindful of those differences and find where we really truly can meet eye to eye on a lot of the way we move forward based on our generations. So, but thank you for commenting on that, Haley. It's really important.
Thanks, Mauricio. Sarah.
Can I add something? I just wanted to add quickly that I think it's so important for us as we're doing this work of social justice to also be addressing individual and collective trauma that we hold. And I envision this work to be rooted using the values and practices of mindfulness as we create change, and recognizing the inner work that we each need to do individually as well as collectively as we move towards ideas of a more collective liberation.
Thanks, Sarah. And I think John, did you raise your hand again? I think so. John, Rachel, and John Clark, sorry.
I'll make this short and sweet. Going all the way back to Harry, you said, what can we do to make a better world? Democratize the workplace. It's a perfect example of something that can be taken into the community. See that factory, folks? Well, it's for sale. We're all going to get together. We're going to create a business. We're going to get the money. We'll each have a vote in running this place. That's how you do it. Professor Wolf of Stanford University, now with New York University, neo-Marxist, he's laid it all out. You democratize half of the workplaces in a country, you completely transform the entire economy, you transform the political system, you transform social relationships. So that's what I'm talking about. You can take the manifesto, which is a beautiful document. It's a little general, but that's how manifestos are general. And we work, put our minds to work at creating within each environment, each community environment, a way to support and promote that document, but with a practical idea. That's all I'm suggesting. And the sooner we get to work on that, the quicker that this is going to catch on internationally. Those third world countries, they are more ready than anybody to be organized with ideas like this. I don't know how we get to them now, but we have to get people in there, and we have to have it in our hand. Here's the plan. Here's what we do. We do this, this, and this, and those people will be loyal to the end, to the entire manifesto you've put together so brilliantly. Okay, I went over 1 minute, sorry.
Thank you for those additional comments.
Thank you for those thumbs, that's great. Very nice thumbs.
Are there any other comments or questions? We missed
I guess
any
see
hand raisers?
Enzo. Enzo, you're unmuted. We can hear you.
Hi, everybody. I'll leave apart the things that I was thinking to say because it's late and the meeting is towards the end. I heard a lot of great comments.
and facts. And after being at the first and the second event today, is a mix of feelings. Like I feel being part of a super great community. I love everything I heard. I think there is a tremendous power to generate ideas and to analyze and to bring a lot of experiences. And as has been said already, the matter is what do we do outside of this? You know, how do we change something? Apart from the starting point, we need to remember we all in this community, we are super lucky. We are here in front of our screen, safe. We are talking, we are listening to each other. And there are many situations outside of us that are millions of miles away in the meaning of status of life. And sometimes even somebody that maybe is 100 meters or 10 meters from us in this moment is a planet away from our reality, you know, fact-based problem, health, economical, or whatever, or because simply feels and think things totally far away from us. Sometimes we may be feeling strong within the conference, and at the same time, we may have difficulties in communicating and understand within the family environment, the working place where we are, or the simple community where we live. And just like often we feel far away from the political administration and community, it seems like they are people from another planet, detached from us, we risk to be, or we feel to be, detached from many other common human beings as we are. And I think, yes, is fundamental that we find the way to spread out, connect with others in a big way, like has been said, getting politicians and elect people close to elections to subscribe the manifesto, hopefully, to be binding with that, but also with the simple little things that we happen to approach during the 24 hours a day from inside our house and house when we get out of the door. There are many small things that are the synthesis of a manifesto in every moment through the day. And back to what we were saying today, yes, we must talk, we must connect, we cannot remain silent. What we were saying many years ago is still valid, is still fundamental. And remember that every day, every moment, there are people drowning, looking for health, looking for a survival situation. There are people under bombs every day. And those bombs that are thrown on top of people cost a lot of money. And at the same time, there are millions of people dying every day because they cannot have medicine. They cannot have food. It's a tremendous job we have. I mean, not only us, but definitely I'm thankful, if I can say that, to COVID-19 for the fact that we all are here talking to each other today in this way, because probably without COVID-19, we would have been all doing different things today. So it's a moment to take treasure of our conscience, of our beliefs, and see what we can do outside of ourselves. Okay.
Enzo, thank you so much. And I should mention that it is 4:30 in the morning where Enzo is now in Vicenza, Italy. So I think he's been one of our main organizers from the start. And his commitment that you see tonight is just one example of his commitment and the commitment that every member of the coalition has demonstrated that has been, I know, incredibly inspiring to me and given me tremendous energy in this period of pandemic. And I think that goes for all the members of the coalition. We have no funding all our own time, our own energy. And I have to also thank everyone who's joined us tonight for the first time, because your comments, your thoughts have themselves been incredibly inspiring. And please keep them coming in the chat box. We're going to save the entire chat conversation and to compile the ideas and suggestions for where we go next. Some did ask about how many main organizers there are. We welcome and encourage anyone who wants to get more involved to join our next small group meeting. We have meetings of about, I don't know, 20 to 30 people on a weekly basis generally. So please, if you'd like to participate, let us know. If you have any additional questions after the event ends, please email us at COVID-19 Global Solidarity @gmail.com, COVID-19 Global Solidarity @gmail.com. You can also reach us via the website. Now let me turn things over to Patricio to, but Rachel, I see your, yeah, please.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like to translate some comments from Naoko Nakamura, one of our participants from Japan. I think this manifesto is wonderful, and I think we also need to know how to connect this to our normal life from tomorrow, how to choose things, how to connect to our daily life things. That'll be even better. And I believe that many people in the world do need this manifesto now. People started to realize that not moving around in this world is actually better for the environment of the world. Many people started to notice this, and probably we were too much working, and our hard work was not actually good for the environment, and we are actually harming the earth. That's how we started to realize. And today, as I participating in this manifesto event, I realized that there's so many wonderful friends in the world, and I would like to connect my friends in Japan, across Japan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for translating there. Rachel and Satoko have been incredibly generous to help with translation. I should mention that we, again, will continue to think about and work to make our future events, future work more accessible when it comes to language. I do as an English speaker, especially appreciate anyone for whom English is not your first language, for bearing with the English dominance. But we aim to improve on that in the weeks to come. I should also just point out that Shanae has shared a survey that will also in the chat box. So you find it in the chat box where you can, it's another opportunity to provide feedback about this event and all our work. With that, let me turn things over to Patricio.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be part of this coalition. I was asked to end the night with a song. I'm sorry that it's gonna be in Spanish. Can you hear well, actually? Okay, I'm experimenting here with my mic and a little amp, so we will see how it goes. I'm gonna dedicate this song to all you guys, activists, artists, scholars, journalists, who believe in a better future for everyone. I have a shirt here. I'm not sure if anyone recognize who this person is. This is Victor Jara. He's a singer-songwriter from Chile. He was killed by the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet. And for me, from my personal background, it represents the real commitment. You even give away your own life for the benefit of the community. So for me, Victor Jara is a very strong symbol, and I composed this song as a tribute to Victor Jara. And this song has a little bit of flavor of the Pete Seeger song, If I Had a Hammer. I know that you know that song from the 60s, If I Had a Hammer. So this song is a tribute to all people who sacrifice even their own life in benefit of the world community. Canto a los mártires. Las estrellas llovieron de unidad entre las aguas y el viento, susurraron entre el trigo y la vid y sacudieron tu voz. Te recordó el silencio cuando nació en tu pecho, se marchitó sin saberlo cuando gimió el cantor. No se me olvida el temblor de tus manos, ni a la tierra maldecir, y tus ojos removiendo sin miedo de nuestra sangre el dolor. Canta mi hermano, brilla tu voz entre las sombras del corazón. Canta mi hermano, no sufras más, que la justicia no tardará. No se me olvida la luna que te encontró en la hora final, que te lloró en el juicio final. No se me olvida el dolor que te buscó en la infamia final, que te encontró sin saber si era tu tiempo, si era tu tiempo. Si tuviera un martillo, cantaría en la mañana. Se me entristece el temblor de los años cuando resuena un fusil, y se me cansan la paz y los sueños y me retumba el rencor. ¿Dónde se fue tu pureza de bienhechor del camino? Donde la llama del pueblo quita la fuerza y valor. Campesino de la tierra hostigada, ven a cantarle al amor. Se arrepiente el verdugo y la metralla que te nubla el corazón. Canta mi hermano la libertad, vibran las notas de la verdad. Anda mi hermano, hombre y razón, el que lo quiso no te mató, no te mató, no te mató, no te mató. No se me olvida la luna que te encontró en la hora final, que te lloró en el juicio final. No se me olvida el dolor que te buscó en la infamia final, que te encontró sin saber si era tu tiempo, si era tu tiempo, si era tu tiempo. Si tuviera un martillo, cantaría en la mañana. Thank you so much.
So beautiful.
I'm crying.
So I believe David should finish the meeting, right?
Thank
You can.
Very odd. We want to thank everyone for, Sinead, did you want to close us out? Okay.
You're good, David.
Well, we just want to thank everyone again. Can I actually ask everyone to give one another a big round of applause for all the work we did to get together tonight?
Thank you.
And we look forward to working together in the future. Please contact us with more ideas, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Gracias. Grazie. Merci. Arigatou gozaimasu. Unmute everyone. So if you want to say final, everyone can unmute themselves.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Nice to meet you. Gracias.
Adios.
Francesca,
Good night.
今後ともよろしくお願いします。
レイチェルさん、ありがとうございました。
ありがとう。
どうもありがとう。
日
本語でも文化でしょう、今回。
これ見てください。
Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you, Naoko.
あ、これを作った人？
そう
これ
で。
ですで選ぶ。
ジャパニーズ。
ラディ